Welcome to Yuno and Kenzo Koga, where ancient wisdom meets modern life.
Subscribe now and join us on this journey of awakening. If this resonates, tap like and share it with someone who would appreciate a moment of peace today. And feel free to share any thoughts or reflections in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're exploring something that impacts all of us, I think. It's the power and sometimes really the cost of the words we just don't say. Think about those moments. Maybe an I love you that just stayed silent.
Yeah.
Or an I'm sorry that felt too hard to get out. Even a simple thank you that somehow got lost.
Yeah, those moments stick with you.
Exactly. And look, sometimes silence is okay. It's peaceful, right? It's space to think. But what about when it gets heavy? When there's something that really needs saying, but it just stays locked inside.
That's such a key distinction, isn't it? There's this Zen idea about peace being found not just in words, but also in how we hold silence. And that's true. Mindful silence can be, really restorative.
Right.
But what we're diving into today feels different. It's about those unspoken truths. Why that kind of silence can feel so much heavier than actually saying something. And, maybe more importantly, how finding the courage to just speak your heart, even if it's messy, can open a door to peace.
Finding that path to release.
Yeah.
That's the goal here.
Yeah. That's it. Understanding the way, then finding the way through.
And that difference you mentioned between deliberate silence and just not speaking, that feels critical. We often assume no words means no meaning, but I don't think that's how it works.
No, not at all. Our research really bears that out. An unsaid word doesn't just vanish. It leaves this kind of void.
Yeah.
And that void gets filled pretty quickly, doesn't it? Usually with regret or wondering or just this quiet ache.
Yeah, exactly. Like, those situations we all recognize. Someone says, I love you, bravely puts it out there, and you just freeze for a second. You can't find the words back. That silence, that pause, it's not empty. It's full of something, maybe awkwardness, uncertainty, fear even.
Absolutely speaks volumes. Or think about that regret maybe years down the line when you wish you just said thank you to someone, a teacher, a friend, and now you can't.
Oh, that's tough.
It is. And these aren't just little blips that disappear. These silences, they don't just fade away.
So it's not passive. It's an active thing. The silence itself, almost like an object in the room.
Precisely. They echo. These small silences, they resonate inside us long after the fact. They remind us that even without words, there's still meaning, there are still consequences. It really points to this dual nature of silence.
How so?
Well, it can be peaceful, yes, a space for thought. But so often, the silence we're talking about, the unspoken stuff, it becomes this invisible weight, something that kind of haunts our thoughts and feelings.
Right.
And that paradox, that's why it can end up feeling so much heavier, so much more loaded than just speaking the words would have been. It's the unsaid things that tend to linger, creating what some call this unresolved emotional debt.
Unresolved emotional debt.
I like that phrase. It captures that feeling of carrying something, doesn't it?
It really does.
And that debt, that lingering unsaid stuff, it truly is an invisible burden. Like we're hauling around this hidden backpack full of feelings we haven't dealt with. When we hold back, stress we don't voice, gratitude we keep quiet, forgiveness we withhold. It's not just a thought that goes away.
No, it digs in. Yeah, it digs in. These unexpressed things, they shape us. Our hearts, our minds, maybe even our bodies.
And this connects so clearly with older wisdom, too. The Buddhist teaching. Holding on to anger is like grasping hot coals. You are the one who gets burned.
Powerful.
It is. And if you take that idea, that analogy, it applies so well to silence when it's trapping truth. When something true needs to be said and isn't, it doesn't just sit quietly. It starts to burn us, but quietly, from the inside.
Like a slow burn. Not an explosion.
Exactly. Not like sudden anger, but this kind of internal smolder. It becomes this psychological, maybe even physiological weight we carry.
A quiet burn.
Yeah.
That's vivid. What does that actually, feel like day to day? How does this unspoken truth burning inside show up?
That's a really practical question, and it often shows up in ways that are subtle, but definitely powerful. It could be that low-level anxiety you can't quite trace, or maybe feeling tired all the time, a bit irritable with people close to you. Sometimes even physical things like headaches or stomach issues that don't have a clear cause.
Wow, so it can manifest physically.
Yeah, research suggests that suppressing emotions, holding back truth consistently, can actually trigger some of the same pathways in the brain that process physical pain. It shows how real, how tangible this burden is.
Mm.
It's that constant inner chatter, isn't it? The I should have said, or what if I had, playing on repeat. It drains your mental energy, keeps you in this sort of low-grade stress state. It's almost like a quiet self-sabotage of our own peace happening under the surface.
So it's definitely not just in our heads philosophically. It's real. And these unspoken things, these quiet burns, they don't just stay inside us or in the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
They ripple out. They create echoes now.
Absolutely. Think about those words you really wish you'd said but didn't. They don't just disappear from your mind. They tend to replay, almost like a song that's stuck in your head but you can't remember the ending, an unfinished melody.
Yeah, that earworm feeling.
Exactly. And those echoes, they're powerful. They subtly but really profoundly shape how we act today. They color how we see things, how we interact with people now.
So it's more than just a memory. It's like an active force, almost pulling strings in the present. How does that work? How does memory of silence become an influence now? What's the thinking there?
Well, one useful concept is cognitive dissonance. That feeling of discomfort we get when what we did, like staying silent, clashes with what we feel we should have done or said.
Ah, that internal conflict.
Right, and that conflict creates pressure. We want to resolve it.
Yeah.
If we don't resolve it by actually speaking up, even later, our mind tries other tricks to feel better. We might unconsciously put up emotional walls or maybe rewrite the past a bit in our heads to justify the silence. Or, very commonly, we develop habits, patterns of behavior to avoid feeling that discomfort again in the future.
Got it. So the quiet burn kind of morphs into these protective walls.
That's exactly it. That's how past silence builds present walls in our relationships. You might notice yourself hesitating, maybe holding back from getting close to someone new, or even deepening relationships you already have, almost like you're subconsciously bracing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you keep friendships a bit distant, keep people at arm's length. Or you find yourself being overly cautious about trusting people, always kind of waiting for something to go wrong. These aren't just random personality quirks often. They can be direct results, even in subconscious, of those unsaid words, those unresolved truths from before.
Wow.
They become these subtle barriers that get in the way of real connection, real intimacy right now. There was actually this really interesting case study we looked at, a family where a silence over something relatively small decades ago ended up fracturing relationships across generations. Just shows how solid these walls can become.
That's incredible and such a clear picture. And the Zen approach, it encourages us to look at these patterns, but gently, right? Without blaming ourselves.
Yeah, it's basically.
It's not about self-criticism for what we didn't do or say. It's more like an invitation just to notice, okay, where am I maybe avoiding truth here? It's about that self-reflection.
Yeah.
Seeing how past silence is still echoing, still building walls now. Not to feel bad, but just to understand.
Exactly. And the hopeful part, the really good news in all this, is that we don't have to stay stuck behind those walls. The shift, the transformation, often begins with just one brave step.
And that step is using our voice, speaking. The moment we actually dare to say it, that's where peace can start to creep in. It's amazing, isn't it, how even one small, honest conversation can just release years of pent-up tension.
It's like letting the air out of a balloon that's been getting tighter and tighter inside you.
Yeah, that feeling of relief, that shift, it can be almost instant.
And what often gets missed, I think, and what comes through really clearly from our reading is the sheer strength that takes. We tend to think saying things like, I'm hurt, or I forgive you, or even I need help is weakness, like we're somehow losing face.
Right, that's the common view.
But actually, it's an incredible show of courage. Vulnerability here isn't about weakness, it's about reclaiming your freedom. It takes real bravery to break that silence, because it means facing the truth, both in yourself and maybe with someone else. It completely reframes what strength looks like.
That idea, vulnerability is freedom, not weakness.
Yeah.
That's powerful. It changes everything. And it connects right back to that Zen idea too, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
The present moment is the only time we truly have.
Mm.
So if there's a truth sitting in your heart right now, well, now is the time.
Yeah.
This moment is the opportunity to let it out. No better time than the present to take that step, even if it feels small.
Absolutely. And the result of taking that step, that courage, that's where we find the peace of revelation. When we finally say what's been unsaid, that huge weightless, you can feel it. It's a real release emotionally and mentally. And that space that the silence created, that gap, it starts to close. It transforms into actual connection.
You know, we often get so hung up on finding the perfect words, don't we? Crafting
Oh.
the ideal sentence.
Oh, definitely. We agonize over it.
But the insight here seems to be that perfection.
Yeah.
It's not the point. Even if the words stumble out, even if they're messy and imperfect, The honesty itself is what brings the peace. It's the act, the intention behind it.
Exactly. In fact, sometimes that imperfectly spoken truth, it can build even more trust than some polished, rehearsed speech because it feels real. It shows authenticity. It shows you dared to try.
That makes sense.
It reinforces that other piece of wisdom. Better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. Maybe your truth, spoken sincerely, even if it's not poetry, is that one word. It's the realness, the genuine wish to connect that transforms the silence, not how fancy the words are. Authenticity is key.
And the effect isn't just personal, is it? It ripples outwards. When we make a habit of being honest, expressing love, showing gratitude, offering forgiveness, it doesn't just bring us peace. It starts to build something bigger.
Like a different kind of atmosphere.
Yeah, like a culture of openness around us, where healing feels possible, where misunderstandings can actually be talked through, where connection deepens with everyone we interact with. It's like building a healthier environment, one honest conversation at a time. It shows how speaking truth, even imperfectly, really does open that door to peace, not just for us, but maybe for others too.
It truly does. The individual act becomes this sort of collective energy that can genuinely reshape our relationships, our communities, bit by bit.
So as we wrap this up, maybe just take a moment. You, listening right now, ask yourself, is there a truth still sitting unspoken in your heart? Is there a silence that feels heavy on your spirit, maybe building one of those quiet walls in your life? Perhaps today is the day. Maybe you can find just a little bit of courage to set it free.
Because remember, silence might hold the truth, but peace really arrives when that truth is shared.
Thank you for joining us on The Deep Dive. We really hope this conversation gave you something to think about, maybe some new perspective on your own voice, and perhaps, just perhaps, the courage to use it.
Thank you for being here with us at Uno and Kenzo Koga, where ancient wisdom meets modern life.
Subscribe now and join us on this journey of awakening. If this resonates, tap like and share it with someone who would appreciate a moment of peace today. And feel free to share any thoughts or reflections in the comments. We'd love to hear from you